There we go. Unmute myself. Good morning, everyone. We're doing this a little early today because I'm going to go cover, there's an event in Westminster, Maryland, Art in the Park event this morning at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to cover that live this morning. So I couldn't do our usual 11 o'clock, but that's all right. We can mix it up every once in a while. I didn't want to miss it because we have WWDC coming up. And people are still talking about Final Cut iPad, Final Cut 10.6.6 caused some problems with audio effects, I think, or something. It redid the audio effects, something or other. So they've already updated Final Cut for iPad. It's at 1.0.1. It came out, I think, yesterday. And they've already updated that for audio unit problems. So we'll see what happens there. But anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm just going to get started. So we're going to talk mainly about what we expect. Well, we're going to talk about Final Cut Pro, of course. That's one of the main things we're going to do. I had the folks, Terry and Chris from LumaFusion on Thursday. They had some very interesting things to say about the development of LumaFusion on the iPad. They've been trying out Final Cut on the iPad. They had some comments about that as well. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But mostly WWDC is happening on Monday. So 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. So we'll watch and see what's going on there. But even the pundits are guessing. I have Mark Gurman's different posts that he did, and one he says that this is coming, one he said it's not coming, one he said it is coming, back and forth, back and forth. They really don't know. So I would be surprised if they didn't at least preview something with the M3, Apple Silicon M3 chipset, because last year was M2 at WWDC. So I think M3 is coming out later this year. Maybe, who knows, Mac Pro. Of course, they'll do the M2 Ultra, M2 Extreme, whatever they want to call that. Doesn't really make any difference to me. Because the M2 is a year old at this point. Whether they double it or triple it and call it the Ultra or Extreme, it doesn't make any difference. Got our comments here from Torgrim Grimstad from Oslo. Good evening, all. I'm out shopping in sunny Oslo. It's good morning here. Torgrim on the east coast of the good USA. Our friend Spot Lewis from Philadelphia says, good morning from Philly. Absolutely. Coffee time. It's definitely coffee time. This is only my second cup. Only my second cup. So I had a very, very cool package that came from B&H yesterday. The new Lumix S5 Mark II X. It's all black, except for one red button on top there. Everything else is all black. All the logos from the S2. So I got this. I'm just setting it up. I have a cage on it, a small cage. This thing is, I've never had a full frame camera before. So this is very cool for me. I'm used to micro four thirds, and boy, when you compare the size of the sensor, the micro four thirds, I have GH4 and GH5, which are really cool. This thing is a little bit bigger. So, but I'm really, really excited about it. The only thing is, I got two prime lenses with it because they were a special with the camera. I got a 24 millimeter f1.8 and a 50 millimeter f1.8. But I'm thinking I'm going to get the Sigma 24 to 70 zoom lens, which is an f2.8, because I miss the ability to zoom in and out when I'm filming something. I've just got started on this thing. I'm just setting it up. It's got so many menus and everything. One thing that I found about this is the screen, which is here. Boy, is it smaller than my iPhone. I'm used to the iPhone Pro Max screen. And boy, is this thing small compared to that iPhone. The big screen, there's no comparison. But anyway, I'm looking forward to get my hands diving deeper into this thing. This thing is a real beauty. And I'm just not going to get, I was going to get a side handle for it, but I'm not. I'm just going to do this. Hand underneath, hand on top. This is plenty good. It's got great in-body stabilization, a bunch of other things. But I'll be working with this today a little bit, just getting used to it. 6K internally. It shoots up to 6K internally. It shoots ProRes internally. It shoots ProRes RAW via HDMI out. It puts out a raw signal HDMI out from the full frame sensor, so you can record both ProRes RAW and Blackmagic RAW with the appropriate recorder connected via HDMI. Very excited about this. Just getting, oh, it also records to an SSD via USB-C. So I got an SSD I ordered coming, 2 terabyte. Another comment. Hello from Abu Dhabi. Absolutely, Lutz. Glad you could make it this morning. So what do we think's happening at WWDC? It's a mixed bag, isn't it? Number one is, okay, they introduced Logic on the iPad and Final Cut on the iPad 2 weeks before WWDC. 2 weeks after NAB, 2 weeks before WWDC. So what does that mean? That means WWDC is very, very crowded. And they didn't have enough time in the WWDC schedule to give Final Cut on the iPad and Logic on the iPad its proper due. That's one of the things. So here's what I've been saying all along. I think we're going to see at least a preview of a Mac Pro. I mean, if they don't do the Mac Pro preview in WWDC 2023, it means it's not coming out in 2023. It means they're going to be 2 years behind their predicted schedule for the Mac Pro. I have a hard time believing that it's that complicated just to do the Mac Pro as an Apple Silicon chip, but who knows? So if we don't see the Mac Pro, that likely means it's not coming out in 2023. But if we don't see the Mac Pro, we'll see a new update to the Mac Studio, which was over a year ago. The Mac Studio came out in the spring of 2022. And at that Mac Studio event, this is what we were told. This is the Mac Studio event.
And they joined the rest of our incredible Mac lineup with Apple Silicon, making our transition nearly complete with just one more product to go, Mac Pro. But that is for another day. Now back to Tim.
So spring of 2022, they said we have one more product to go, and that is the Mac Pro. But that is for another day. Now, that was 16 months ago. 16 months ago. The Mac Pro is certainly on their roadmap. It's missed the deadline to transition from Intel to Apple Silicon for all the other Macs in the lineup except for the Mac Pro. It's missed that by a year and a half, 18 months. And 16 months ago, actually it's almost 2 years. 16 months ago, they said we have one more Mac to make the transition, and that is the Mac Pro. But that is for another day. Well, 16 months later, and the other day hasn't appeared yet. I'm saying we're going to see the Mac Pro, the new Mac Pro at this WWDC, and it'll probably come out later in the year, probably November, December or so. That's when it actually will be available. I'd be very surprised if it's available now, but pleasantly surprised. So here's the idea. If they have the new Mac Pro, they're going to show a future version of Final Cut Pro on it. That's what I'm thinking. This update that they had to the iPad didn't really do much for Final Cut. It added a few things. It wasn't completely a vacant update like the last 2, 3, like 6.3, 6.4, and 6.5 are strictly bug fixes, 3 in a row. Strictly bug fixes, no additional things happened. 10.6.6 has a few things when we have to appreciate when we get items besides just bug fixes. It's not a giant feature update, but that'll be 10.7 or Final Cut 11, whatever they're going to do. I would say at this point 10.7, and then Final Cut 11 may be a little bit off. It'll be a little while before we get that. Those will be the big feature updates that we've been waiting for. So what do you think? I mean, the reality glasses, the virtual reality glasses, of course, that's a given. But that doesn't affect me being a Final Cut Pro editor because I'm not planning on buying them. Now, I've heard rumors they're going to be $3,000 or something like that. They're going to require an external battery pack. That sounds very expensive and very clunky. So if I ever delve into reality of those glasses like that, it'll be when they get refined in the future at some point. But right now, that's not going to happen. Let's look outside. There we go. We got some nice birds out there. Bluebirds. Very, very nice. It's very green in my backyard right now. Very, very green. We got a garden. Everything's coming up nice. I mowed the grass on Thursday. Bluebirds. Those are actually bluebirds. Actually bluebirds in the backyard this morning. And it's very green. Normally we're on 11 o'clock, but like I said, I had to push it way back because I'm at 11 o'clock. I'm going to be in Westminster filming Art in the Park up by City Hall. I'll do a live stream from Art in the Park. Artisans are up there and stuff. So what do you think about WWDC? I'll be watching it for sure. If there's anything Final Cut Pro related, we'll talk about that. But if there's nothing Final Cut Pro related, it might be all glasses. And of course, they're going to show the new Mac OS. Of course, they're going to show the new iOS. I don't know what they're going to do. Somebody said the 15-inch MacBook Air is coming out. And there's different rumors. There's definitely some Macs coming out, whether that's just the Air or something else. And let me just go over here and look at this. Let me see what these are. So these are some, they can't make up their minds. They cannot make up their minds. Here we go. Apple Silicon Mac Pro reportedly not coming at WWDC. Mac Studio refresh likely delayed until M3. Okay, that's one thing. And then right beside that, we got new desktop Macs with M2 Ultra and M2 Max chips could see WWDC debut. They don't even know themselves. And one thing they're not coming, then they're coming, then it's delayed for M3, and no, it's going to happen. This is all from Mark Gurman. So he does say Gurman does not know which specific Macs will feature the chips, but machines are labeled as Mac 1413 and Mac 1414 internally. Here we go. Previous rumors have suggested that the revamped Apple Silicon Mac Pro could include the M2 Ultra chips. So we don't know. Nobody knows. We don't know what's going on. Everybody is guessing. Even Gurman contradicts himself from one post to the next. I find that humorous. Of course, nobody knows anything. I mean, Apple obviously does, and the people that worked on the presentation video, they've been working on it for weeks, months now. They're going to have a presentation with Tim Cook again, a video, I mean. I know it's live in the campus, but they're going to have a video. They always have videos. And that's, I'm sure they've been working on that for like the last couple of months. I don't think Steve Jobs would approve a clunky Apple product, whatever it was. Yeah, I mean, the ideas of the glasses, you have to have a cable to a battery pack? That sounds really, really, if that's true, clunky. Our friend Marcelo Ferraz, hi from Rio. How you doing? How are you doing? The other thing here's the thing. Summertime, there's hardly any news. Hardly any news about Final Cut. Typically, June, July, and August are like completely radio silence. Nothing going on. If they show a new Mac Pro at WWDC, I'm going to say they're going to show a new version of Final Cut on it. Pre-release version. Coming out later in 2023. Could be 10.7. I mean, at some point, we're going to see Final Cut 11, right? I mean, they went from Final Cut 7 to Final Cut 10 in 2011. They skipped 8 and 9. Well, it's a different app, but I mean, I skipped the naming convention from 8 and 9 and went right to 10. So they certainly can skip from 10.6. They could go to 10.7 and then to 11. That seems kind of likely that they will do that. It seems very, very likely. Let's see what else we got here. All right, WWDC preview. So that's all I'm really interested in for WWDC. Of course, the new Mac OS. Let's talk about the new Mac OS that's coming out in the fall. Whatever the name is, we'll find out Monday what the new name is. Well, Mac OS that I have right now, Ventura, is that what it is? I think so. About this Mac. Ventura. See, I'm on Ventura 13.1 because there's been so many problems with 13.2, 13.3. Whatever the new name for the Mac OS is, it's coming out in the fall. I'll be curious if it's going to be Apple Silicon only, or if it's going to be Intel, still be able to run on Intel. Because we're at that point now, it's been 2 years, and they said they're going to at least run Mac OS on Intel for another 2 years. They said that in 2021, I guess. So we're at that point, any point now, where they're going to drop support going forward for Intel. But there's probably, I would say, half or more of the people that are running Macs are running them on Intel machines. I had the last Intel machine I had was my Mac Pro, 2019 Mac Pro, and I just sold that 4 weeks ago. I got just about half what I paid for it, which I'm really glad I got. And that money's sitting in an envelope, and that's going to be the money I'd spend on a new Macintosh. But I'm not going to get anything until the M3s come out, whenever they come out. I'm not anticipating getting a Mac Pro. At this point, the MacBook Pro is so powerful, and I can take it with me when I go to NAB, and I'm on the road, and I can edit mobile. I'm still on the M1 Max MacBook Pro, that I'm going to get another one. But I'm not going to get the M2, the M2 Ultra or anything. I'm going to get, whenever the M3 16-inch MacBook Pro comes out, that's the one that I'll be springing for. It's been a fantastic machine, and I really like it. If this one's doing so well that I might not even get the M3, I might wait. All right. What else do we have? There's not a whole lot to talk about until Monday, when the Mac Pro, Mac Studio, whatever, they're going to have some kind of a desktop Mac out. Oh, one of the other things about WWDC, they could update the iMac to the M3 or the M2 Ultra or whatever. I think they're going to preview, they're going to have to talk about the M3, I think, even if it's just previews of forthcoming desktop Macs and stuff, MacBook Air, whatever. So if they do a new iMac, because the iMac's got the M1, right? I don't think they updated the iMac to the M2. So the iMac's got the M1. So a new iMac, and I'm still saying there's going to be an iMac Pro, a 27-inch, or whatever, a 32-inch, whatever they want to do, 29-inch iMac Pro. At some point, they're going to do that. I don't think that the iMacs are stuck at 24 inches, which is a nice size, very comfortable size. But I don't think that we're going to be stuck at 24. So when they introduce the new iMac, maybe that's what's coming at WWDC. A new iMac with M2 Ultra, M2 Max, M2 Extreme, M2 yada, 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 or the M3. I'm thinking they're going to do the M3, though. That's what I'm thinking. They're going to debut that at this WWDC. That's what I am thinking. So one of the things, I had LumaFusion on yesterday. What do I have? Do I have any videos? Let me see if I have any videos of them. Oh, here's what I've been doing around the house. And I have a lot more to go. That is me doing splitting wood, oak wood, for the upcoming winters. That indeed was me splitting wood. Let me see what our friend Torgrim says. Can you guys please hold your breath for 20 minutes or so? The better half is forcing me to cut the lawn. There you go. There you go. Well, let's go see what's going on my lawn. Oh, no more birds right now. I cut my lawn on Thursday. Yes, indeed. So the other thing that's happening after WWDC, I mean, if there's some buzz, if they show a new version of Final Cut, that'll be exciting. That'll give us some more things to talk about. Now, one of the things that might inject some Final Cut stuff over the summer is if they announce a Final Cut Pro Creative Summit in November in person in Cupertino at the Spaceship campus. If they do that, that'll be something to look forward to. That'll take us through the summer till the fall. And of course, if that does happen, I'll be one of the first to announce it. I haven't got word that it is, but my suspicions are that it indeed will happen this year in person. If you haven't seen it, I put up a documentary about the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit on my YouTube page. It's up there. It's like 42 minutes, something like that. It has all behind the scenes from 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. It has a lot of, different personalities that are in there and interviews that I did. So that's over there on my YouTube channel, which is Richard Taylor TV, as you surely know. Let me just see something here. Oh, let's do this. Where is that? Oh, look at that. Here. Good morning. Good morning. I forgot to put that up. And don't forget, let me just put these up here. Let me put this up. Here's my name. And don't forget, while you're here, subscribe and click notifications so you get notified for these things. That's how you That's how you get notified. Everybody knows that at this point. So is anybody looking forward to WWDC? If you are, what are you looking forward to? There's still more talk about Final Cut on iPad. One thing I wanted to ask everybody about, I never got an answer for this. Why are the two clapboards different? Why are the two clapboards, one is opened and one is closed? So the iPad one is closed and the Final Cut Pro one is open. These are the icons. Why are they different? Does anybody tell me why? Is there any significance to that? I don't know for a fact, but I thought that was a little bit, I was curious about that. I was curious. Let me go over here real quick. I'm going to check and see if anything is going on. Let me just double check. I don't think anything is going on, but we will check. Let's see. I'm just checking the FCPX hashtag. So according to Chris Hawking, Apple depreciated FX Plug 3 without really telling anyone or documenting. It's just gone. Only FX Plug 4 is now reported on Intel and Apple Silicon. That is bizarre. That is bizarre. Let me just pull this over here. Go back to our graphics. Let me see, where's our graphics? I don't have it there, but I have it here. So we'll turn this one off, turn this one on. So Chris says Apple depreciated FX Plug 3 without really telling anyone or documenting. It's just gone. Only FX Plug 4. And of course, zip up Final Cut Pro 10.6.5 before updating. Before updating. That's very, very important. Don't forget that. That's always the case. That's always the case. Lutz says, I need a new iPhone. You have to wait till September for that? When that comes out, the September? I'm hoping for an M3 Mac Studio or a new Mac Pro. Are you in the market, Don, for a new Mac Studio or a new Mac Pro? I'm not going to get another Mac Pro at this point. My MacBook Pro has been fantastic. I would consider a Mac Studio and or a Mac Mini Pro. Not the same feature set. I'm not sure. Are you talking about a new version of Final Cut? Marcelo, perhaps 11 is on the way, so they'll just match the clapperboard icon then. Now, I'm just curious if any. I noticed that the one of the Mac iPad version is closed, and the real Mac, the real Final Cut Pro on the Mac is open. It's been open for a long time. So I don't know if there's any significance. I just happen to pick that up when I'm looking at the icons. When I'm looking at the icons. So we're talking about this. One icon, the iPad icon is closed, and the Final Cut Pro icon is open, the clapperboard. That's all. No big deal. No big deal. I'm just curious if anybody knew. Oh, somebody knows. Whoever developed the icons for Apple, I'm sure they know for sure. Don't forget, you're over there watching. give me a thumbs up. It's always appreciated. If there is indeed a Final Cut Creative Summit in the fall, which I haven't heard anything, but I'm sure this is the time of the year that they bring out the news and dates. They start in June, July. Sometimes it takes them till August to get final dates, but they'll say it's coming. I expect an announcement in June, that announcement about Final Cut Creative Summit for the fall. Now, here's what I expect. I expect it to be in person in Cupertino. That's one thing. Back to the way it was in 2019. We haven't had an in-person one since then. Plus a virtual element. So people, it's expensive. If the in-person one is 3 or 4 days, you have sessions all day long. A lot of times you have special dinners. You have exhibitors night where you have a lot of food and stuff. Some of the times you wake up in the morning, they have coffee and bagels and danishes and stuff in the lobby, the Juniper Hotel. So I'm expecting that's expensive, plus your airfare, plus taking off work. So for the people that can make that, I think it's 150 people typically, plus the employees were there. So you're talking about up to 200 people for the weekend. If you can't make that, if you cannot make that, they will still have a virtual element for people that can't make it. And it'll be, if you can't make it, you're overseas. They'll have two elements to the virtual. Number one is to watch the presentations. Maybe I can plug into that virtual element and do some live streaming like I always do behind the scenes. We'll see. I'll talk to them. I'm a media partner with Future Media Conferences, so we'll see. The other virtual element is people who can't come here to do a session, perhaps Australia or someplace else. Perhaps they'll do a virtual session instead. That's what I'm thinking. I got to keep track of the time today because I got a little more time yet. That's what I'm thinking will happen this year. It'll be a hybrid event, but it definitely will have an in-person component. And here's the thing about the in-person one. It doesn't make sense to have an in-person one anywhere but Cupertino, because Cupertino is where the Final Cut Pro team is. And Cupertino is where Apple headquarters is. And Cupertino not only has one Infinite Loop, but also has Spaceship Campus. All these things are in Cupertino. So it wouldn't make any sense to have an in-person one in New York or Florida or Detroit or Austin. It makes sense to have it in Cupertino back at the Juniper Hotel, which worked out very, very well in 2019. We had a really, really good time. Let me just check on one thing. Just wanted to check and make sure the audio is coming through. And let me see my mic delay. Yeah, it's on 6, is what it always is. That's what it always is. We're doing well. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. I appreciate it. You can always spread the word. So next Saturday, I'll plan on being back at 11 again. But if I'm not, I'll announce it ahead of time, like I did with this one. If it's not at 11, any Saturday, this is number 18. We've done 18 of these so far. Tens of thousands of views on these. Cumulative. Looking forward to doing more. But over the summer, I may take a Saturday or two off because sometimes it's not, well, we'll see how it works out. I could have taken this morning off, but I said, no, I'll go on at 8 o'clock early to see what's going on there. Let's see what's going on with the bird feeder. Nothing. Zero. No birds, but look how green it is. So I have to mow this. I have an acre and a half of land, which is pretty good size. I'm pretty much my perimeter of my yard is covered with trees, so there's no close neighbors to me. There's no close neighbors, but we like our neighbors. But there's a line of trees between me and our neighbors everywhere. Oh, look, somebody's out there watering the garden. That is Jane. Out there watering she's doing it by hand. She has to get there's a hose available too. But she's the one that takes care of the bird feeders. Yes, indeed. Anything else going on? Thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate it over there on the YouTube channel. It's always nice. I think we're just about out of things to talk about for today. We'll be talking about WWDC for sure. Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Go over there, subscribe, click the notification bell. Subscribe. There you go. And give the old thumbs up over there. We'll hang on here for another minute or two, and then I'm going to get ready to go to, let me pull that up. Let me see what's going on over there. I want to say hi to Final Cut Pro Editors International and Final Cut. Well, one of the other things, let me pull this back up here again. One of the other things is Final Cut TV. So this is I have a list over there. Final Cut FCPX.tv is where you want to go. All things Final Cut Pro. This site has been up for 12 years. Mainly what I do is I just do lists of things. What started was this. When Final Cut Pro 10 came out, there were articles everywhere. I wanted to know, where's this article? Where's that article? Article. And what I did was I started making lists with links to all the different articles for myself. And then I said, well, let me share those. So I put up this website, fcpx.tv, all things Final Cut Pro. But anyway, right now I have a master list for iPad. And it's got dozens and dozens and dozens of tutorials and videos, etc. Tutorials, all these different reviews on YouTube. fcpx.tv is where you want to go. So this is over here, fcpx.tv. Click on the main page and you'll find Final Cut for iPad Master List. I also have another, I also have a Facebook group for people who are into Final Cut on the iPad. Because for years, I've had Final Cut Pro tips and tricks on Facebook. And we got almost 9,000 members over there. Final Cut Pro tips and tricks. Thank you for the thumbs up. And I didn't want Final Cut for iPad questions coming in to the Final Cut tips and tricks site. So I started a different, let me see if I can pull that up here. I got a different, I started a different website. So here's the Final Cut tips and tricks group. This is the Final Cut tips and tricks right here. Final Cut Pro tips and tricks. This is the website. But I also have, here we are there. I started, people post tips and tricks here all over the place. This is specifically for tips and tricks. But then I started a Final Cut iPad tips and tricks site because I didn't want people coming in here with questions about the iPad version. Somewhere here. Well, let me find it, then I'll take you back. And here we go, right here. So we started Final Cut for iPad tips and tricks. And we're over there. So we started that specifically so we have a separate place. If you have Final Cut for iPad tips and tricks, you post them here. If you have Final Cut Pro tips and tricks, you post them in the other one. Both of those are Facebook groups. The one's just getting started. Final Cut Pro tips and tricks has been around. Thank you for the thumbs up. Has been around for years, and we're up to 9,000 members. I expect the Final Cut for iPad to be up a few hundred, maybe get 1,000 in a few months. We'll see. But you can go there for tips and tricks. All right, I'm going to get out of here for today because I have to get to that. There's a special event in Westminster. Drew Media Australia says just upgraded to 10.6.6 by mistake. Always update your old version of Final Cut before you update it. Zip a copy. I have Final Cut going all the way back to 10.0. 10.0. So I always update. I'd updated before I did 10.6.6 because I got a documentary I've worked on for the last 3 years that's on 10.6.4, 10.6.4. I don't want to update that library to 10.6.6 because there's problems, plugins, previous audio settings and things. So I always zip it. When I update Ecamm Live, I do the same thing before I update. I run on the beta version of Ecamm Live. They always have the new features, and it's very, very stable. It's not like a buggy beta. It's very, very stable. So I run the beta version. We're on that right now of Ecamm Live. Always always make a copy before I update it. That's always a good point. All right, everyone. If I don't see you, I'll probably see you this week. We'll do something. M02 is DOA. Yeah, I heard that. I heard that's one of the things. So, yeah, that's why you make a copy before you update. I have multiple copies. Apple doesn't make them available for you. You have to do it on your own. Just zip a copy, remove it from your applications folder, store it somewhere else. I have multiple copies of older versions. I guess that Time Machine makes a copy, right? I would think they make a copy of the applications folder. So you should have a copy there as well. I have multiple copies. I have copies and copies. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here and get on to my other live stream for the day. And I'll see you during the week. There's another video. We interviewed LumaFusion, the Chris and Terry from LumaFusion on Thursday. It was almost 2 hours. We talked all about Final Cut on the iPad versus LumaFusion. One of the things, Apple dropped their support for education a long time ago. They used to have a very aggressive, they had the eMac, the educational Mac and things, and then they just got rid of that whole department, whether they were third parties or whatever. One of the smart things that LumaFusion has done, LumaFusion now runs on a Chromebook. And there's more Chromebooks in education than anything else. So LumaFusion can run on the Chromebooks in these educational markets, and Final Cut for the iPad cannot because they have Chromebooks. Final Cut does not work on a Chromebook, but LumaFusion does. Now, I don't know if the educational markets have iPads or not, but LumaFusion is in there on these inexpensive Chromebooks that a lot of the educational market has. Very smart move on their part. It's a couple generations behind, they said. They can't quite keep it up to feature parity with the iPhone and the iPad because it's more difficult, but it is there. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. My name is Richard Taylor, as you well know. Right there, Richard Taylor. Follow me on YouTube. Give me some of the thumbs up. I appreciate it. I got another thumbs up on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the notification bell. We'll be back during the week this week. I'm planning on another interview with another third-party vendor who has a product coming out. I think that's going to happen this week. Not positive, but I think it is. But we'll be back during the week, and then we'll be back again. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It's appreciated. But we'll be back next Saturday at our regular time, which is like 11 o'clock. But if I have to come out early, I'll notify you. That's what the idea of getting notifications. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Richard Taylor, and I'll talk to you this week. Final Cut Pro news at WWDC. Fingers crossed. Final Cut Pro Creator Summit returns to Cupertino. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, those two things are going to be talking about those in the next couple of weeks. Talk to you later. Thanks.